What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit, and we have another phenomenal conversation. Another phenomenal human being, and this one's really cool. I haven't seen this guy. It's been about 17 years we've been sitting here and talking since I've seen him. We've, of course, with social media and stuff, you know what's going on in people's lives, and really it's been a year since we just really reconnected back on social media and have kind of seen that we had some mutual same connections, and that's just the way the world works. But I met this guy at a really pivotal moment and pivotal time in my life. I had just come out of, it was a really big transition period. It was really like a period of time where it was like, I made my first declaration. I got out of a relationship. There was this seemed like a long-term relationship then. And I was in a real victim mentality before that of life just happening to me. All my circumstances were the reason why I wasn't successful. And I remember going through this breakup and just really thinking about who I am and the opportunities that I had. And I said to myself, I said out loud, I'm going to go out, I'm going to make new friends. I'm going to open up new opportunities, and I'm just going to fucking own it. I'm going to, I don't want to say eat faces, but it was like, it's time to go. And Ryan happened to be in this group of friends that I connected and met with. And it just was really, really life-changing. Now it's super cool because I know his journey from afar, but life was really, really different for the both of us back, 17, 18 years ago, back in like 2005, 2006. And so I'm super, super excited because I see the work that he's doing and the impact that he has in his community. And I'm super excited to talk about that and how that came about. And like I've said so many times, stories are data with soul. The stories that you hear here are stories from a real live entrepreneur that had to find a way, right? And it's still like that. That's the thing. Is like we're still always finding a way, always learning, always growing, always moving forward. So, man, Ryan Griggs, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's been a long time coming. We've had some conversations back and forth.
We have. So we both get busy, and
yeah. Well, that's the way life works. And I remember you called me out a couple weeks ago. You said on a post like, "Hey, you can't respond to this. You're supposed to be." I was like, "Hey." I was the last one that said, "Hey, does this day work for you?" And you kind of left me hanging there. So I was like, "It's I know if we don't put something on the calendar, life does happen."
Well, that's kind of how it is for me anymore. I mean, clients are like, "Oh, can I just drop it off?" I'm like, "Please don't do that.
Please don't do that."
I'm like, because I don't know. I'm like, and I'll sit down. And I take that 5 minutes, and we get them scheduled, and they get their reminders and things like that. We want to handle that professionally because God forbid you do drop off your car and it hangs out with me for 2 weeks because that's how far out I am right now.
That's amazing. It's a good problem to have.
It is. It's a good problem to have, but it's not for everybody because I do overbook myself immensely and I'm one person and
these are all lessons you're learning.
My wife yells at me weekly for it. So, but we take those hurdles and we go over them together.
So tell everybody, you talked about dropping cars off. What is it that you do and what's your company?
So I own Blue Line Detailing. It started out as Blue Line Mobile Detailing. Now it is Blue Line Detailing. We still offer mobile. We offer mobile Mondays. That allows for me to go. I generally will stay within a 50-mile radius of Linden, Michigan. But I will do boats and I will do automotive and RVs, all mobile. The only thing I don't do mobile is ceramic coatings because we like to have a controlled environment for that. Other than that, we still offer the drop-off at our Linden location, which I was blessed with. And we just kind of take each week as it comes, and every car is a little bit different. And the more services I seem to add on, the more the weeks definitely get different. So
that's the more you can do.
The more I think I can do.
So, like, how'd you get started in that? Because we were talking about, like, I was like, I couldn't remember exactly what you did back when we knew each other, but you like probably working in a restaurant or doing landscaping.
Yeah, it's crazy because back then, I was landscaping for a company out of Davison. I loved it. It was great. It was good money back then. And then I ended up working in restaurants, and my daughter was born in 2010. And it became difficult to work in a restaurant and start closing and working till 3 a.m. So I actually ended up, my goal was to be in manufacturing, which has worked out great because they use so many different impactful ways of how they manufacture and how they make sure things go out in such a timely manner that I've found myself now using them. I wasn't in them originally, but I find myself now using those to make sure my cars are going out, and even my checklists are done a certain way. But I've gone from landscaping to cooking to manufacturing, and went back to general managing a couple of restaurants even after she got older. And when COVID hit, I was already partnered with someone at the time or just prior in another detailing business, and they've gone on and become immensely successful. In fact, they're not too far from where I'm at, but they do just amazing work now. We both have grown, and we both wish each other well. Usually every couple months we'll check in on each other.
That's super cool.
But at the time it didn't work out, and I don't know, the government said, here, have some money. And I was really bitter at the time about, the breakup of that partnership. And I went, no, fine, let's do this. And I did. My first detail was in 98-degree heat. It was full sun. It was everything you're not supposed to do. And it was at such a low price that I would never, ever do that again. It took me 8 hours to do now what probably would take me 3. So, we've grown a lot since all that. But detailing I think it's just my dad's love of cars. Honestly, it really. I grew up with my dad always taking me to car shows, working on his cars, whether it was a truck. He bought a 70 Chevelle, and he ended up selling it years ago. But yeah, my love of cars, I think. And, now it's grown into planes and RVs and boats. And boats are probably some of the most fun things to detail.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it about boats that you love?
Gel coat's really satisfying to polish and bring back to life. And now I've stepped into where I'll sand on cars, and I'll sand on boats, and you're stepping into a realm of some things that some people just won't do. But you want to get the right results, you're going to do it the right way. And I've learned by the right people. So recently, when I was in Plymouth, Michigan, I went to SEMA Garage, which I didn't even know existed. And I'm working with IGL and Rupes and Auto Geek, and I'm working with Detail Bookie, and all these guys, they're teaching you business. They're teaching you how to polish, how to sand. They're teaching you how to ceramic coat a car. And these are people with 30-plus years experience in this business. So things like that this year have been really impactful on the business.
Like learning and growing from other people.
Just being humble and learning to just shut up and listen sometimes has been the best thing for me and the business.
Isn't that funny? Like someone's just shutting up and listening.
It's funny. It's that humble moment. You're like, you just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm terrible at it. But in this business, I know that most of the time, I'm not the best one in the room. But I also know enough that I'm also not, the worst. And I want to help others too, the way I've been helped. And that's just kind of where it comes from. I've helped train other mobile detailers around my area. I've given away tools that I don't use anymore and they can use to start up, things like that.
Where do you get that kind of like, there's so many people and we can talk about like haters and that scarcity mindset and people that look at their, people in the industry as competitors. And, I'm a sales coach, sales consultant, and I've had people within that same industry that have been like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't, kind of that competitive scarcity. And then I've had people that I've collaborated with, that have worked together. We've come together and we've done speaking events together. We've done mutual trading of clients, or we've connected different clients with different relationships between our own clients, which has been awesome. Like they've been on my podcast. There's been so many opportunities to learn and grow from each other. And then you have these people that don't see that. How did you find yourself in that abundance mindset, I guess?
I would have to say, and I wasn't planning on saying his name, but I would have to say Justin, who owns the building that I'm in. He owns 4K Tinting. He'd contacted me last year, maybe around this time. He had just purchased the equipment from another building or another business, and he was moving it all in, but he was trying to step up what he was doing and get into vehicle wraps and more graphic design and things like that. So he wasn't going to be detailing. He wanted to send his clients to me. He had looked at my reviews. He liked it, and we were going to go that route. Well, and it wasn't even too far. I mean, maybe 6 months later, I had a guy who was doing paintless dent repair in Fenton, and he wanted to do the same thing. So now, and it's like what you're talking about, if I have a client that comes in and they have a small dent and they don't want to go to the body shop, I can call up Josh. Hey, we can get you done. We can get you, he's mobile. He'll come here. We can take care of that while your vehicle's in. We'll get it taken care of for you. Would you like to have your vehicle windows tinted? I've come in the morning and Justin will know I've had a really long day. What's he do? He vacuums out the car.
That's awesome.
Like he helps out that way. And it's, and I've tried to help out where I can with his. He just recently did a vehicle wrap and, you just do what you can. And I think the mindset comes from others people's humility and they're giving to me and I just want to give it back. I've had clients, in the area, they might work for dealerships, they might be real estate, they might be construction. I mean, these are like moguls in our area.
Yeah.
You're talking like guys like Rhodes and Johnson and John Wentworth and LaFontaine's and, these guys, now I'm doing work in like their body shops or they're saying my name because I did this for one of their guys or I did this or I helped out and ceramic coated one of their cars and it becomes huge. And these guys are big in the community. They help out with different events and they have found me because I probably shouldn't on a business standpoint, but I give away things to silent auctions that I believe in. I give away things to different school events. We just recently sponsored the Fenton Youth Cheer Football. This year because my daughter's a cheerleader. But, you do those kind of things. And I might be a one-man show, but give it back.
Yeah. It's like participating and being a part of your community.
Yeah, it is. And if you're going to own a business, I think you need to be a part of your community. It can't be just about how much money did I make today? Because at the end of the day, nobody cares. Only you.
Yeah.
It's what did you give back? Who did you help? And I've had a plethora of people that have helped me. I got to give it back.
Well, and you mentioned so many names. That was what was cool, and that was what kind of reconnected us. Is I had built some relationships with some of the amazing people you mentioned, and like Michael Lay, and you think I did an event, speaking event at Freedom Center, and they had this entrepreneur vision event, and I did this event there, and it was like the amazing people, the incredible people just in that community, and then. That's how like you were kind of resurfaced and we connected on Facebook because I saw you around those people, but we are who we hang out with, right?
Yeah, you are. You really, really are. So, I mean, even back, in 05 and 06, while I love all those people, if they didn't grow, they're probably not in my world anymore.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of those people back then that still are. One is still considered one of my best friends. And, it's just kind of funny how you watch how people change and grow and, we obviously grew apart and, now we're sitting here talking about everything, but Michael Lay was a big one. Actually, the water bottle is sitting on the table right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you right now that I see those all the time at Freedom Center because they give them to Freedom Center.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So,
we had Jennifer McGovern on last week from CGC in talking about like the core values and just, and again, I've never even been in that building, but I could tell you what their culture is about.
Yeah, and I think it's all, and for me, by myself, yes, it's about building a little bit of a culture before I hire someone, getting my feet enough wet to where they're not coming in and, they're not in chaos. Because I want to have certain SOP in place and things like that. My wife just took over all the finances. We do inventory now, and we want to have sustainable growth. I'm not looking to be the fly-by-night business that just made it through the summer.
Yeah. You're looking to grow something
I am.
bigger.
And, honestly, I was so busy in January and February, it was unreal. So it was probably our busiest winter we've had, which was really nice. But I've been known to go out in my bibs and my boots and, do an interior, and it's 34 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So we make it work.
Before we get back at it, a quick shout out for our sponsor, Playbook Builder, powered by AI. This show has always been about giving the resources and the tools to small business owners in order to grow and scale your businesses successfully. And so I'm so excited to partner with a company that does just that. If you've listened and heard any of our guests, you've heard talking about building process, developing and training, building culture, are all such important pieces in order to building a great company. Well, Playbook Builder, powered by AI, has come along and revolutionize the game on how you can do that for your team and people, whether you're onboarding new people, training and developing, continued training and developing, you're looking to scale your business or eventually sell, or most importantly, you're looking to build a legacy as a visionary. Playbook Builder powered by AI is able to solve those problems for you. For me as a consultant, I've been able to plug in, and it's so amazing for what I do for clients. I can now leave a legacy. And so, for example, I'm next week training a new hire for a company, and I've been able to build out the next month of her training program using Playbook Builder powered by AI. The cool thing about the AI, what does that do? What's the hardest part of building out a process? Taking the step by step and making it easy to learn. What the AI piece does is you can actually type in what process it is, whether you want to onboard, if you want to onboard a new employee, type in onboard a new employee and what type of industry you're in, and the AI will put together a foundation for you to build out your playbook. It is absolutely incredible. But don't take my word for it. Head on over to playbookbuilder.com, and these guys have set it up to where you can take this for a test run with no obligations. Plug in what kind of playbook you want to build. If it's a sales training playbook, for example, plug that in the description. And in the description, you can also put in what kind of industry you're in, and then hit generate, and it will generate a playbook for you. Impressed from there, and you can take a 30-day free trial of the playbook system altogether. How do you get in? You've mentioned some of the really cool things like that you're detailing. How did you go out and like get that stuff?
I got really blessed with the plane. I still can't believe that happened.
That's so cool.
One of the reps from IGL North America, he reached out, and it was kind of one of those posts, and I said, yeah, I want to go. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even ask anybody. I really should have, but I didn't. But it was one of those, it was a former plane that Ronald Reagan was on, and George Bush, and it's, how do you say no?
Yeah.
And then you're driving out there. It's a 10-hour drive. And all you can think about is, what did I get myself into? Who are these people? And you show up, and I'd always wanted to meet him. He's called the Detail Kid. He and his dad have a shop out in Idaho. They're all named Steve. So I met Grandpa Steve and Dad Steve and Little Steve, and but he's 12 years old. And he's a certified detailer.
This kid's 12 years old?
He's 12 years old, and he's a certified detailer. He was sitting there right next to me with a polisher and ceramic coating that plane.
That is crazy.
So it's a really cool experience. So then I got guys that have been in the industry for 30 years, and then I got a kid who's probably got a little bit more experience than I do. So it was different, but there was a moment they couldn't get a piece of equipment, and the tail fin was about 27 feet in the air. But we couldn't get this piece of equipment to actually go up there. We wanted a scissor lift. And the only thing we get is a boom. And I was literally, out of the entire room of like 30 people, the only one that knew how to operate that thing. So what happens? There I go. I just jumped in the basket and went on up.
Wow.
But they were great. I mean, Tracy and Glenn, who kind of put all that together, I mean, they got all these sponsors together. They were working with the school where the plane is at. And it was an amazing experience.
That is so cool. You're with other detailers, like other accomplished detailers from across.
Well, and then I met Sarah, who works for Rupes. She's a trainer. She does all kinds of marketing and coordinating. She's amazing with that. I'm under the belly of this plane, and she and I are looking at what's on the bottom of it, and we're not sure exactly what it is. We just know it won't polish off quite right. And we're kind of collaborating together ideas, and I ended up working with her again at the SEMA garage, and she's taught me a ton. And I work with guys like Marcus and Mike who work for IGL. I mean, they're up, a normal rep for, even food. I never really got that kind of interaction, but coding and detailing, I wasn't really getting it. And then I got it out of these guys. Like, they're doing the trainings, like they're up there with a polisher in their hands. They're getting filthy with us. They're having lunch with us. Like there's no holding back. Like that's their life. I mean, both of those guys have owned detail shops in the past, but this is their passion.
That's really cool. So it's a totally different community.
It is. But there's the good side and then there's the bad side. And I want to say that the 90% of most detailers, they want to grow, they want to build, and they just want to, they're okay to collaborate. There's a guy in Pontiac that he and I want to get together, because he's a part of the same community. There's a guy in St. John. We've gone to trainings together. He was at the SEMA one. In fact, we even talked about going out to one recently, but the timing doesn't work. We're actually going to drive down together. You know, and some would say, hey, you're driving with your competition. Well, neither one of us sees it that way.
Yeah.
So what's it matter?
Yeah. Well, you're probably not doing stuff in St. John's anyway, right? Like,
I have gone as far as Frankenmuth,
okay.
but furthest south I've gone is actually St. Clair Shores too.
Okay.
And that's where I did a yacht. And that was a fun experience. Last year, I ceramic coated 15,000 square feet of the exterior of a building.
That's crazy.
A company was contracted to vinyl wrap this building and fix what was falling off. It was a coating that was just coming off. It always had been. So they went out and they cleaned all that up and they vinyl wrapped it. And we were 60, 65 feet in the air, and I'm ceramic coating at 10 o'clock at night.
I take it you have no objection to heights?
No. And even if I did, I'd still do it.
You can still do it.
So it's just one of those things. You just don't look down. Well, I think that's where it was funny because, you know, well, how does he know how to operate a boom? And I'm next to this, you know, multi-million-dollar plane. I'm like, well, I was next to a building on one doing this, just swaying back and forth. So it's, you know, new experience, new adventures. If you say no, you're never going to experience it. You know, if you're that scared, then ask questions, but don't ever just say no. And I've had to learn that. I've also had to learn to be really humble because I've said yes to a lot of things I shouldn't have.
I was going to say, how do you then, because I totally get where you're going, and there's such a fine line, because you know, I hear this all the time, and it's so true. You have to be able to say yes. You have to have an open mind, because if you're closed-minded, you're going to miss the opportunities. And then look at, like, you get these experiences, and now you almost have a specialty, right? Like
you know, there's definitely people out there that can definitely do it better. But it's funny, like, you know, I went to that plane and they wanted people out there just to come out and do the plane for the history reasons and the right reasons. Well, the Thursday night we did the meet and greet. That night we got aviation training. IGL surprised everybody with their aviation expert and another, you know, and Dee and Ryan, you know, Ryan's out of Texas and Dee's kind of all over Florida and Louisiana. These guys have a multitude of experience on planes. And we got actually certified through IGL to work on planes. And it was a really intense experience. If you
like the collection of these experiences that you're talking about, if you would have told Ryan back in 2006 this would have been, what would you have thought?
Oh, I thought I was lying to myself. No, I had tried a multitude of other small businesses, from vinyl wrapping and shirts to I had tried to buy a house with some other buddies, and once you run the P&L, 3 people on one rental, it just doesn't work.
You're not making money.
You're not making any money. So luckily for us, we did run those numbers before we bit that bullet. And every once in a while, I'll still get something because the business was never closed. Every once in a while, I'll get like a random like pen or something like from some company. It's like, here, you should have this. And I'm like, dang, that's a long time ago. Hey, you're talking like 10, 12 years ago now. But it's just an experience of, I wanted to make it. This was going to make it. So in my first 18, I mean, even 2 years, I was saying yes to stuff that I had no business saying yes to. None. I had a guy, and this is not something I brag about. I had a guy who asked me to come out, and I did a quote for him. He had a nice CUDA out there, and I was going to do some paint touch-up on that, and that was fine. Minor touch-up I was fine with. I ceramic coated his wife's Jeep, his Dodge Ram, and then there was a paint touch-up on that Ram, and I should have said no. It was well beyond what I do, and it got bad, and I ended up actually having that car towed from Romeo to Holly, where I thankfully have some very nice acquaintances at a body shop, and they fit the car in, and they repainted the entire bedside for me. Oh. And that $800 mistake.
I was going to say, how much was that? Oh,
that doesn't include the tow bill. So that was about $1,000 mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time I was done, by the time I was into product, how much I had driven out to Romeo, and that mistake, I mean, I barely broke even.
Oh, man.
You know, so it's one of those, let's not do that unless we know what the heck we're doing. And I've learned a lot from that. So even now I do paint touch-ups now, and There's certain like tri-coats I shouldn't try. That's not for me. That's a body shop. You need to take that to your dealership. There's someone who has been doing that for years, well beyond what a detailer should be doing. Minor paint touch-ups is one thing. They're relatively easy, but things like tri-coat paint on BMWs, some of these even actually my little Kia is tri-coat paint. I'm going to try it on that because that's a great place for me to learn. It's my car, but doing it on somebody else's, not a place to learn. Definitely not a place to learn.
Your first one is not a mistake you can just fix really easy.
Yeah, it was definitely, and he was a great guy for the most part. It was just, at some point
he wants it right.
Yeah, at some point you have to kind of understand, he's mad for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I created this monster. Sweet.
He's mad for a reason.
So it was another one of those, you got to own it.
Own it.
Yeah. And like I told you before we started, I've, that great, he's kind of influential, and I don't think he ever meant to be, but, he puts out something daily on Facebook, and that's his thing, is he says, own it. And over the last 6 months, it's been a little inconsistent, but, you get busy. I like to say, stay relentless, because I think you can let things like that Dodge Ram experience like I had, I think you can let it basically shut you down.
Absolutely, you can.
And it's a little ironic now. I got back from that plane, and within less than a week, I had posted, I think we're getting ready to shut down Blue Line.
I saw this, yeah.
And it's because I just couldn't get the finances together enough. I was spending more than I should have been, and it wasn't more than I was making. It was just more than I should have been. So the sustainability was there, but not the growth. So it was one of those, my wife needed to handle this. She handles all of our home finances. You can handle the business finances. So now we're sustainably growing, and it's been a real blessing.
You were able to hand off that thing that,
and it's, it was kind of weird though. I posted that, and I expected, friends, family, that kind of thing. You'll make it. You'll be okay. It's kind of like, when you ask somebody, hey, how you feeling? Well, my life sucks and I don't know what to do. Well, next time, can you just say it's fine? But I posted that, and I'm telling you, my text messages and my private messages on Facebook, everything went nuts. Mm-hmm. People from New York, other detailers, I had reps reaching out to me, go, what can we do? How can we help? What do we need to do?
Wow.
And one of the big ones was Dustin Jackson, who owns Detail Bookie down in Alabama. He runs 6 successful businesses. He owns a $1 million detail company down there. He got on a Zoom call with me and my wife. He'll do a multitude of them. He doesn't care. I was able to stop on my way home from New York and stop in Akron and see my buddy Billy. He's Detail Billy. I mean, he does trainings out of his building. He's successful. His daughter was up for Female Detailer of the Year this year.
Wow.
He was actually Detailer of the Year this year, and I have those people in my corner, and I think I just forgot for a moment. And it's that I got this attitude.
Yeah.
And that attitude has always bit me because, I got it. No, you don't. You don't have it.
Yeah.
So it was great having so many people reach out and say, what can we do? How can we help? This is what we're doing. Can we send you this, like a spreadsheet? Like this is what advice do you need? Like where are you having your hiccups at? And I got so much advice I could hardly take it. But it was such a blessing. It really was.
That's amazing. It's what you built. You built this community of relationships for yourself.
Well, and I never saw it that way. But, I've reached out to some of them. Some of them reached out to me. Maybe they're running into the same problem, and we're able to talk. And it's,
if you think about this, there's how many detailers are there? You talked about it before we got on live or on the mic. Is like there's one that pops up every day, right?
There is, and in my area alone, I have close to probably 30 mobile detailers. There's probably close to 12 shops. That's a lot. That's just Fenton, Linden alone.
Yeah.
That's not even counting all of Genesee County. Some of my competition, if you want to call it that, is out here in Livingston. But it's funny because I'm out here in Livingston County right now, and there's a guy that Used to work at, now what do you call those kind of places? They install tonneau covers, things like that,
Oh,
out
okay.
of Fenton. But he was the guy. He was the reason that store was successful. And then he wasn't there anymore, and he opened up his own detail shop, and he's out in Howell. And he does some killer work.
Yeah.
But I don't see him as competition.
Yeah.
I don't. And, he's a good people. He's a dad. He does great work. And most of the people in my area, if I see it pop up on, any of these Facebook groups, I say, keep it up. Great work. Keep pushing. And, there's always that one, maybe two guys that just, oh, you suck. Well, okay. Probably do on some days.
Yeah.
I probably do. I'm not perfect.
Truth. I do.
Thanks for pointing it out. But like I told you before we got on, I was like, I'm living rent free in a few people's heads, and that's to their own detriment. It really is.
Yeah.
And I have to fight the Detroit in me, we'll call it that, because there's a lot of me that wants to puff up my chest and say, listen, this is how I feed my family, back off.
Yeah.
And I have to really tone that back, because you can't run a business that way. You want to.
You want to. You do have to let the emotions subside for a second. Not on anybody else, right?
Yeah,
like go through them. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's a release of endorphins knowing, like you said, that you live rent free in this person's head.
Well, yeah, and I'd gotten told about something recently. It was last week on Monday. And I had no idea about it. It just had popped up. Well, one of my first calls was to Billy, actually, in Akron. I'm like, listen, man, I know you've dealt with this. Like, I just need to vent for a second. He goes, all right, let's do that. And he let me.
Yeah.
And it was, and I thanked the person for telling me, because I don't want to not be told, but I also want to be able to handle it the right way.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no, my work's going to speak for itself, and yours is, and he's an excellent detailer, like absolutely phenomenal. I would never knock his work, but his character, we're not going to discuss that because it's none of my business either, but that's something he's going to need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is not perfect either. If I were perfect, life would be a whole lot easier. I've made plenty of mistakes to get where I'm at.
Yeah. But we're either winning or we're learning.
Yeah.
Think of how many things you've talked about now that you've learned so many lessons from.
Yeah. And that's just in the last, 18 months.
Yes.
So this business has been great. It's been scary. My brother-in-law entrusted me to come all the way down to Florida last year, and we ceramic coated his Mercedes. It turned into a total nightmare because the car was so bad. But, it was nice. 5 days in Florida with my mom, my wife, and my daughter, and I'm working on a car most of the time in the garage, but I'm taking my time. We went to Busch Gardens, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
My other brother-in-law got married. I made sure I cleaned up both the cars and things like that while I'm down there. I use the business for what it's meant for too. I've had people actually I just had a guy last week. Beautiful Ford Mustang. He's not going to have it very long. I think it's a business owned car. And, they were traveling with milk in the car.
Yeah.
Well, it had spilled in the back trunk and it went everywhere. And they had already made the attempts to clean it up. But I could have taken advantage of him. I could have been, hey, we'll put you on the schedule. Yeah, $300. That'd probably taken me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So why? So I took the 5 minutes he needed from me, and I walked him through the process. I checked some areas that maybe he wouldn't know to check. I even showed him how to remove some of the panels. And I said, listen, you could save yourself a whole lot of money and do this yourself. I said, you're well on your way to what I probably would have done to clean this up. I said, so I don't know what YouTube video you watched, but it worked.
Yeah.
So, and he was really happy. We shook hands, and it's just a solid word of mouth from that.
Yep.
But even just being a good person.
It's all about being a good person.
So as busy as I was, I'd rather just be that person and I don't want to steal from anybody like that.
Yep. It's when you do good things for people, it comes back around. And it's not like a knock, knock. Hey, remember that nice thing I did?
Right.
But it's those things. And it's, again, talking about building those communities, being open to building relationships with other detailers. Like, why? Well, look what you were ready to throw in the towel, literally. That was just, literally. And all these people came and gave you time, gave you support, gave you encouragement. If how many other detailers would they would put a post out there that say, hey, you know what, I'm calling it quits. That who cares?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing is, I love my friends and family, but they don't understand what I do, not necessarily. So what were they going to say?
Yeah.
I got the words of, I love you and you'll do this and the business is great. And, I got all that encouragement, but even at the end of the day, my wife is like, well, I don't know how do we fix this? And that's why she and I were both on the call with someone like Dustin, because I mean, I'm not perfect in this. And he's obviously he started out in a, lean-to basically with a hose, and he started out small.
Yeah.
And I started out of my shed in a pickup truck, and now I'm doing it out of a hatchback and thank God a building.
Yeah.
So, but the building's been a huge blessing too. So, and that's just, someone like Justin who wants to help someone out. And
it
that's
comes down to relationships.
Yeah. And that's really all it is for him, is he just wants to see people grow too. We both attend the same church. We have kids about the same age. We both have worked late together or early together. And like I said, he's helped me out and I help him. And, he's just, I told him once, I said, you're like the big brother I never wanted. And it was weird because he was kind of already feeling the same way. And I'm like, I just thought I'd, work in here once in a while, maybe store my chemicals. But now I'm in here 5-6 days a week. And, you can't get rid of me. So, and it's been busy and it's been fun and it's been staying busy.
Just think about you talked about different businesses before, or like finding different businesses, but it's fun when you can lock in on a passion.
Well, and I think that's what you have to find.
Yeah.
So while I thought shirts and graphics were fun, it wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
Owning homes and rentals, while I still think it's probably good money, it's not my passion.
Yep.
Cars are my passion. That 1955 Packard sitting waiting for me, I'm chomping at the bit to get done with this so I can go over there. Because,
You're like, how much time do we have left?
Right. I don't want to look at the clock. I'm trying not to, but, that car is, that's what I want to do. And then that 2020 Silverado sitting in front of it, getting anti-corrosion protection, ceramic coated, like it's like a list of stuff I offer that car, that one vehicle is getting, and then so we recently had a friend who she's been supporting this business since day one. Her name's Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I don't know if we could do it without her. So she's the first one to put me on Nextdoor. I had no idea it even existed. And I ended up with my third ceramic coating off of that listing. It was a white Chevy Camaro, amazing people. But I'll post, she reposted. It's within minutes. I'm like, what are you, behind me? And we wanted to surprise her. And she's been wanting to get her Ford Ranger ceramic coated and protected and things like that. And we did all that for her last week.
That's awesome.
And then we got her windows tinted and everything. And, I got paid with banana pudding, but, but that was my thank you.
Yeah.
And, I can't do that for everybody, but she really has. She's shared, I would say 95% of my posts.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I'll do hey, where'd you hear about us? Oh, on Nextdoor. Some Veronica shared it. Oh, how'd you hear about us? And it might be from one of the hospitals. Oh, well, Veronica? Oh my good grief.
Veronica's everywhere.
I'm like, good. If I was running a referral program, this is what you earned anyway. What's the difference?
You got to take care of those people, right? And that's so awesome to be able to think of a creative way to really take care of her.
It's my wife's best friend. I mean, and I would say probably originally, yeah, she's doing it because she doesn't want to see me unsuccessful in dating her friend. But, she was the matron of honor at our wedding, and she's just good people. And, on deck actually is my best friend Mike's, he and his fiance's Jeep. It's coming up next. We did some paint touch-ups on it, and next is to finish polishing it and ceramic coat it. I mean, I don't know how else to say thank you. I don't remodel bathrooms and kitchens like Mike does. Heck, he had to come help me with my mom's, but,
It's what would you contribute?
Yeah, I mean, what else do I do?
What can we do, right? Jennifer McGovern, who was with CGC Water, she talked about last week, like the story of going around with the boiling water and knocking on the door and like getting an ingredient from each neighbor. Each neighbor adds their own ingredient, and by the end, you're able to feed the whole community with this amazing soup or this amazing concoction that you made that everybody contributed to.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I have to make sure I'm saying thank you to the people that have built me up. And they're not just building me up. When I feel like I'm about to fall down, like I was talking about, they're literally standing there holding me. because I can't always do it on my own.
Yep.
Some days, yeah, I'm fine. There's other days that my wife's like, "You all right?" And I'm like, "It's been a hard one."
Yeah. And then who knows the life better than other people doing it?
So yeah, and I'm very blessed to have people that are so humble and will take time out of
Absolutely.
their very busy schedules to help build up the guy in Fenton, you know, a one-man show, and just wants to see me grow. It's just, I don't mean to sound like Dr. Seuss, but, you know, it's just, it's very humbling, and I have to hold back a lot. And like I told you, when I was leaving that plane, you know, you kind of tap the side of that plane, and I held back the tears. But when I made it out to the car, they were out. I mean, it was just a once-in-a-lifetime kind of an experience that I never thought I'd have. I literally went out there thinking I'm going to shut down business. Like, we weren't even sure how I was going to get out there. But my wife, being the magician she is, made it happen. She's like, "You're not going to miss this."
It's amazing.
And then by the time I had gotten back, I was at my wit's end, and then she just kept working her magic. But it was one of those, you have to turn over the reins to somebody who just does it better.
Yep.
You know, I don't tint windows. Justin does.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do vehicle graphics. Phil does in our building. I can detail your car.
Yep.
I'm pretty good with finances, but you know, I don't have enough time in the day to count inventory and make sure things are done. And
Yep.
make sure I'm checking my P&Ls and everything. That's what
You
my
need the
wife
time
is
to be
doing.
able to work your magic and do the thing that
Right.
makes the business successful.
Right. And then if I don't make that time, I can't hire someone else on, because that's the next goal, is to hire someone.
Yep.
So, and I don't want to hire someone and 6 weeks in, we're like, "Oh, we got to let you go."
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, I want to find someone who I can help grow in this business, because it's a lot of fun. It really is. There's a group called the Detail Mafia. They go out every year and they do a big plane, like a big,
Oh, wow.
you know, Air Force One. And there's a lot of them out there, a lot of big sponsors out there for that, and they do that. One of the biggest things best things I did was join the International Detailers Association. So they have a code of ethics. They have a directory that you can go through and actually find detailers in your area that are certified through them. They do ask you to be certified. They offer testing, written and physical testing. And then they also, they give you a referral guide for every detailer that's a part of that. So if you have a question, ask it, because your own worst enemy then at that point is you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can ask questions all over this country about what should I do in this situation. And it's amazing that way.
Would you say you can do that because you had the courage to be able to ask the questions in the first place?
Oh, I definitely didn't used to, but I think you make enough mistakes, you either get courageous or you're done.
Failed, done.
Yeah, you're failed, you're done.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, eventually I just had to humble myself to, listen, you don't know everything. And again, it goes back to that "you got this" attitude.
Yeah.
But that's been kind of my detriment since I was, you know, knee-high to a grasshopper, so.
Something you talked about, and you talked about when you bring somebody on, it's like giving them that thing to make them successful, pouring back into them. Like, what is that next step? What does that mean to you? When you think about that, like, what does that look like?
For me, it means a lot, because it means that I can give back what almost everybody else has given to me.
Yeah.
And I love seeing new people with a polisher in their hand, helping and coaching them with their timing and their pressure and things like that. But I still get coached on that. Even at the SEMA garage, I was still learning. I was standing over people's shoulders, just, you know, "How are you doing that? What are you doing? Why are you doing it that way?" But if you're not asking those questions, you know, you're going to hurt. But for me, I'm so excited to hire someone on eventually. I never used to be, but to have them just with me and learn and work and help me and take some of that off of me it's huge. So my daughter's been helping a little bit this year. You know, she loves doing interiors.
How old is she?
She's 12.
12. Nice.
So she asked if she could be certified. I said, we can work on that.
Yeah.
Which,
She'd be like the kid under the plane.
yeah, I was like, sweet. And I actually talked to him too. I was like, we have to get the kids together.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll just sit back and watch them work.
That's so crazy.
So they know she helps me ceramic coat wheels already. She'll dress tires. She likes to ask a lot of questions. She likes to help out around the shop. So she's not afraid to ask questions, but, she wants to learn. But I don't see it as her niche and her forte. She's very creative with drawing and writing, and she does all that with her friends. They've written scripts, and she'll draw pictures, and it's really, I'm like, honey, I couldn't draw that right now if I wanted to. Like, my stick figures were awful at your age. So she's very talented that way, and she's very sweet. So honestly, I see her more as a teacher or something like that. But she's talked about that too. So I'm never going to force the business on her.
Yeah.
But I have friends out in Oregon. All of his kids work with him.
Yeah.
Down in Akron, his daughter helps run that shop. Like I talked about Steve, his kid works with him, and it just kind of so on and so forth. It's kind of part of it. Mike out in Wisconsin, his son, when Mike's out on the road, his son's pretty much running the show with his wife. I mean, they kind of ceramic coat and kind of do their thing. So
it's super cool because it might not be her thing, and she might not take over the family business, but one, she's watching. What better way to teach your kid than to show, not just the how to clean the car or how to clean a vehicle out of ceramic, all those things, but like your work ethic, how you take care of people, how I can tell you she's seeing how you connect with people.
So for the first couple of years, the first year wasn't as busy. Last year, I had a real problem with like prioritizing my time. And then this year, it's kind of started out the same way, and we finally had to just pull back a little. So I've been making sure I make the cheer practice, or making sure I make it to a church event, or making sure I don't miss certain things. And just that family time has to be important.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. It just has to be. If it means I go in a little bit later and finish up something, that's fine. But to miss things that I can't get back, that's detrimental. Mm-hmm. It really is. And that's one of those things I wanted to teach her, because I think she was already seeing, Dad kind of prefers to work on a car than me. He doesn't want to be like, and that was never the case.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be unsuccessful. Yeah. But success has its own disadvantage sometimes, because if you can't keep those things in check and keep that quality in check and keep your balance, then something's going to give. And if it's family, you're in trouble on all routes.
Absolutely. Well, and what's the definition of success? Some people would put success and they don't put family in that picture, and that's fine. That's their thing. They might have an ultimate success as that dollar, that car, the cars, plural, the houses, whatever. That might be the success. But for me, that was a big reason for being an entrepreneur, is to have that balance, to be able to get out of work when I want to be able to coach my son's teams, basketball, to be able to set those schedules, to be able to pick him up off the bus when or to be able to leave early to go to his games, or to just be there from a family standpoint. You can't always control that with a job, and it can be hard as a business owner too. But you can set your parameters around when you work.
Right. So, for instance, and I'll go back to Justin. He he coaches youth football. He coached lacrosse this last year.
Yeah.
Well, his kids are on those teams. Why not?
Yep.
You're getting your time with your kids. They're getting the benefit of you coaching them, so they're getting the best. And then the kids come work in the shop like mine does every once in a while, and then he's home for dinners. He might come back in the shop a little bit later. Sometimes he has to work a Saturday, but he has that balance. I'm not saying we all don't get out of balance. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But, he was one of those ones that was able to teach me, like, well, you can stop and go have dinner, or you can stop and you can go to this event, and the car's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to pick it up randomly while you're gone. It's going to be here. You said their pickup time was tomorrow, then make it tomorrow. But, if you have a few minutes, maybe if it costs you an hour of sleep, then give up your sleep, but don't give up your time with your family.
Yeah.
Because sleep you can get whenever, but you'll make that up. But, a memory of watching my daughter try out for 7th grade cheer, the coaches had to kind of kick us out. They're like, this is close practice. I'm like, all right, well, glad you said it, because I wasn't leaving. It's just one of those things. Yeah. I want to be there for those moments. I want her to know I'm cheering her on. I was a single dad for a long time. And I was it. I'm her pillar of what a parent is. And now I'm very blessed with my wife, who has stepped into a role that she never had to step into, but she has. And, she picks up a lot of my slack and a lot of areas where, I can't help a preteen girl because I don't know the answer to those questions. And there's not a book that's going to tell me. But my wife's very smart. She's very sweet, and that's her thing. She's just great with people. So, nice. And she's amazing with kids, and especially ours.
That's amazing. Where'd you meet?
Where'd we meet?
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to kill me. We met online, actually.
That's normal now. That used to be a thing.
I used to make the joke it was something else. I won't say I swiped right or anything. But, so it wasn't like that. I actually messaged her. She was going through her own end of a relationship kind of a thing, and I was coming out of probably one of the worst I'd ever been in. And I was like, I thought you were married. Well, not soon. And I'm like, oh, okay. And, we just I think we kind of wanted to lean on each other as friends. I don't think we were looking for forever.
Yeah.
And it just kind of turned into forever.
That's cool how that works.
And I couldn't see it with anybody else. I really couldn't. So she puts up with all my bad. She inspires all of my good. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't see anybody else there. I really couldn't. The business would never have succeeded without her. She used to get a day off a week. She gets it back now, but she would actually go out and do interiors. So she wanted to see me succeed so bad. She was like, how do I help? So we buying double equipment, everything. Just, here we go. Have fun. Doing it together was not a good idea because I was still real hard-headed.
Oh, yeah.
You're not doing it fast enough. But it was funny because what should take me 3 hours, she was doing it 6, but it looks so much better.
She was detailing.
I'm like, you just detailed the detailer. I'm like, just 6 hours. I don't care. Whatever. So, hey, fine. Less is more. That's how I looked at it. So, but now she won't work with me. But now we're working on that. But no, she's been a pillar. I mean, just a real pillar. And now, God willing.
It's cool you found the place that she could really help you, right? Like
right.
She went out and did the detailing because she wanted to help you. Now she found the place where she could really help you.
Yeah. So I wanted her day off now for a couple hours. She'll come do inventory and double check some numbers and things like that, and then just go enjoy her day off. So, and that's what she deserves. She works plenty of her hours in a week that she should, and she runs a dermatology office. She's the office manager, and she helps out in surgeries, and she's running a staff of multiple personalities and different doctors and providers, and her job's...
She has her own challenges.
Her job's 10 times harder than mine. I just make mine hard. I'm just vacuuming stuff. It's fine. I used to hate it when people said that. Oh, you just vacuum cars. Oh, man, it's not that easy.
Yeah, no, I've vacuumed my car and it doesn't look like your pictures look.
No, believe me, I would love it if it was just vacuuming a car some days, but I create my own monsters, Like that truck I'm working on right now, so GM puts this wax coating on these cars, and they've been doing it for a few years, and they dip them. So this wax is everywhere. Oh, GM's the only one who does it. And, apparently they've sprayed oil on it because you can do oil undercoating, and it looks like there's probably Line-X or some kind of bullet liner on top of it. I'm literally working 3 separate coatings off to get mine on. But they're coming right off, which is the scary part. Mine dries rock hard and doesn't come off. So mine's impact rated and it's corrosion rated in C5 environments, like the worst of the worst environments. Like you could put this stuff on an oil rig and it's not going to get touched. It'll take years.
Wow.
I mean, questions have come up how to work, in depths of water, like, talking like submarine type stuff or, pipelines and things like that. And we're just spraying on your underbody of your car. I mean, you want something that works, that'll work.
That's crazy.
Not what it was ever meant for, but we're detailers and we make it work.
It's about problem solving.
Yeah, we just put it where it's not supposed to go and see if it works. And it does work, but that's really not what it's meant for. I mean, this stuff it's the same stuff that I put on the side of landscape trailers because these guys are getting their stuff repainted every 5 years because it's just getting destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we covered the side of a trailer and the frame and everything in this stuff, and it just rinses right off now.
Wow.
So, yeah, the stuff's pretty incredible. And they're actually coming out with another one, and I'll be going down to Kentucky with the girls. They're going to come down for this training, and they're going to enjoy some time in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'll go to trainings, and it'll be a good time.
That is really awesome. There's like, I was trying to think, there's a book I read and it was talking about like creativity and what creativity is. And it was talking about like, it was, man, I can't remember what the book was, but it was a musician talking about taking instruments and, oh, it wasn't even a book. It was freaking T-Pain talking about taking auto-tune. And it's so funny, so random, but talking about taking auto-tune and how he like looked for auto-tune, finally found it, and how he like warped it and used it for what it wasn't supposed to be and just did what he did, became ultra famous around it, right?
Yep.
He knew it was going to become this thing. Like it's a really cool thing. It was on Netflix, but it was like, I didn't know much about T-Pain other than his music, but I left being a really big fan of T-Pain. Like he looking for 2 years. He had heard like the Cher song with autotune and he was like, what's this? I've got to find it. And he went out and bought every program or downloaded every free tuner program that he could possibly find. 2 years later, he was sitting in his house and he was like, it was like the mother lode. Like I cracked the nut. He was like, I found it. He was like, I stood up and I was like, this is it. And like,
Well,
2 years.
He just recently did one and made himself sound just like Ozzy Osbourne.
Wow.
So it's actually really cool. He sounds just like him.
But it's like, it's talking about like you take something and you use it. It wasn't meant to do that.
Yeah.
But you take something and you alter it. You take a guitar and you play it backwards, or you like do just warp things and it makes certain sounds. Or it's the same thing you're doing. You're doing that creativity to find and solve problems.
Yeah, I mean, and we've got guys from New York to Florida to everywhere. It feels like spraying this on the underbody of these cars, but yeah, you could use it everywhere. And I mean, it's like I said, it dries rock hard. We can tint it. Like I'm going to tint it black for this truck. And I mean, now the guy's going to drive it because he hated how much dirt would collect on the side of the frame.
Yeah.
The truck always looks dirty. So we're taking all of it off. I'll spray this on. It dries rock hard, adheres right to the metal. And now you can rinse it right off. And it comes out with a gloss shine.
Wow.
So we just did that Ford Ranger the same way. I actually sprayed the inside of her fender wells with it because it'll adhere to that plastic. This stuff will adhere to wood, concrete, glass, you name it. But it's all about working with the right companies too. There's just for every detailer, there's probably a coating company out there for each one of them.
Yeah.
And every detailer is going to argue, oh, this coating's better than that coating. Well, I like who I'm using now because honestly, they go out to these trainings because they do give back. Because if I wanted to call them, they'll answer.
Yep.
It's not just a sales rep. You're not, I'm getting advice.
Yep.
It's no difference from what you're doing. You're not just a sales guy.
Yep.
Which, I mean, even when you were selling cell phones, it was never just about a cell phone.
Yep.
Even then,
It's about the relationship.
Yeah, even then you were looking for that relationship. Or, if somebody had a problem, you're a human. You want to find that impact.
I had these people that I met out in Fenton, Dell and Shirley Falter. They were amazing. And like they came in and I sold them a basic phone back when I worked in Fenton. And they were just, I sat and I had the patience with them because whenever I worked with older people, it was like I thought about my grandma coming into a store and how people treated older people that didn't get cell phones, right? And so that's just the way I treat. When I saw somebody that was older that struggled with it, I'd sit down with them and have patience and answer their questions and that kind of thing. So I built this really good relationship with them. They'd come in and get their phones from me. And then when Fenton closed down, I got moved out to Lansing and got this management position out in Lansing. A couple years goes by. I totally forgot about Dell and Shirley. I'm sitting at my desk in Lansing and I see this van pull up and this lady jumps out of this van and I'm like, I recognize who's this lady? Who's this lady? She's my customer. I haven't seen her in a long time. Who is this? And I could not think of it. I was pulling up my customer base. I'm like scrolling through names. I'm like, oh my God. She comes in. They open up the van back at the door. They're bringing in brownies and like sandwiches and like all this stuff. They searched for me for 2 years because I took care of them. Nobody else would take care of them the way that I did or had ever taken care of them the way that I did. They went to every cell phone store they could looking for me because they just knew that I didn't leave the industry. And so they went to every cell phone store in the area. One day they went to a store in Brighton that was affiliated with my store and they walked in and said, hey, does Jason work here? And they're like, no, we don't know who that is. This guy, no, I don't know who that is, but I can sell you something, and starts going into a sales pitch. And one of my friends worked in the back. Matt McCula comes out and is like, Jason, he's actually out in Lansing. He's took over that store and they came out to Lansing and like, how cool is it? She refused to buy a new phone until she went and found me. She went out and found me 2 years later, all the way out in Lansing and drove from Fenton to Lansing to come out and see me.
And it kind of makes you wonder, what was your impact? I mean, at the end of the day, you walked away from that and didn't realize what your impact had been.
Yeah.
You just wanted to be a good person.
Right.
I've had those experiences. I had a woman who contacted me about mice had gotten in her van. It had been sitting. Her son had autism, and it was just one. And she goes, "Well, I got this other quote." And I said, "Well, okay, how much was it?" And she told me, and I went, "Oh." I went, "Okay, can you bring me the van?" And she brought it out, and I went, "It's not that bad." She goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's really not that bad." I'm like, "We can take care of you." She goes, "Well, what's the charge?" I said, "Just my normal interior price." "Really?" "Yeah, just really." We took care of her, and she shared some information with me, and autism kind of hits home for me because it kind of, it's in our family, and I have friends that they're children of autism, things like that, so that it's always hit home. I had another one, and I've never spoken on this, and I don't speak on it to build myself up. That's why I don't usually, if I buy something in the drive-thru, I don't talk on it usually. I usually get yelled at by my wife, "Why did you spend $30-something at McDonald's?" I had a client, and their mother had breast cancer. So we went through the whole detail. I didn't say anything. I did the whole shebang. And at the end of it, when they paid me, I donated it to the Susan G. Komen Foundation, everything they paid me. And I sent it, and I did it in their mother's name who had passed. Mm. And I got this phone call, this woman just in tears. "You didn't have to do that." I said, "Yes, I did." I said, "It's been in my family." I said, "And you were so sweet." And I said, "It's just me giving back." I said, "Please don't. You don't have to talk on it." I said, "I don't want you to brag about it." I said, I did it because I wanted to. I said, "I shared it with you because I thought you should know that your mom has an impact on people still. And so does her story. And it meant a lot to me to do that. So I don't care if I'm going to have to shut the doors one day. I still want to do things like that."
It goes beyond the cardio detailing.
Mm-hmm. It goes well beyond business. I mean, I'm fighting back tears right now.
I am too, man. I am too. I usually don't fight them back, but
the business has been great in those aspects. I mean, last week I made a post about that guy, and I'll be your Huckleberry, and I'm a man, and I'm going to puff up a little bit, and it's my business. But at the end of the day, if he were to call me, "I need this. Do you have this?" "Yeah, I do." I'd help him. Mm-hmm. And that's the strangest part, is that he's actually done it for me prior, and I just, I'll never understand all that. I don't have to.
Yeah.
If I understood everything, I'd be fried at the end of the day.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
It's about relationships. They found you after 2 years.
Yeah.
But that was the impact you had.
Yep.
And regardless if
it
somebody...
goes beyond cell phones. It goes beyond the business.
And regardless if somebody ever says, "Oh, yeah, he detailed my car," what I want them to know is that I'm there.
Yep.
So I've been known to pray with clients. I got asked last year in February. No, it was March maybe. But a guy from church, from Freedom Center, he owns a car dealership out in Fenton, family auto sales. His name's Les. And he wanted to, it was on his heart to bless someone with a car. I'm like, you're out of your mind. You're going to give away. I'm like, what car? And it was literally the nicest one he had on the lot at the time. It was this beautiful ruby red Chrysler, great interior, sunroof. It was a nice car. Well, they ended up having a mobile mechanic fixed a couple things on it for nothing. Justin tinted the windows for nothing. Well, and I couldn't say no to anything, so we did a full interior, and I ceramic coated the outside of it. And then I've never seen someone so excited to get a Chrysler 200 ever. But it was one of those moments, and there's those people, and there's plenty of those people out there. So for every hater,
yep,
believe me, I got 100 people that are cheering me on.
Yeah.
So hate all you want, but you're kind of standing alone.
That's all it is, man.
So, and I don't want to live in somebody's head. That's not where I want to be. Yep. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it for them. It's not worth it for me.
There's other ways to impact people.
There is. And, you're doing it. I try and do it. I have to make sure I'm trying to like make up for all my bad I've ever done in my life.
We're either winning or learning.
We are. But I've learned a lot of that from my dad too. I mean, he retired, so to speak. If you want to say working 3 days a week and 5 hours a day is retiring. And then he still does stuff for Meals on Wheels, and my stepmom does that. And, these are people that just, don't quit.
Yeah.
My mom will help anybody in our family without batting an eye. And most of the time, nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
She might loan someone money and nobody knows, or she might pay for this because, my grandparents are on a fixed budget and nobody knows. And, my grandparents get mad at me when I do it, but they can't yell at their own daughter. So
that's awesome.
you learn from the people around you.
Yep.
I'm lucky to have
definitely
those people that have built me up. My sister, when her boys were in 4-H or FFA, I mean, she was always working the concession booth or always working in a barn somewhere helping out the boys. And my brother-in-law's the same way. And, my wife's like that. She'd give you everything she owns if she thought it'd make you happy. And plenty of people have taken advantage of her for that.
Yeah. That happens.
So,
but when you surround yourself around the right community, it's a little bit different. This has been awesome. My tears did come out.
I did my best to hold them back.
Yeah. You said you were going to cry, but that's always my goal. Man, Ryan, thank you so much for coming out here and sharing this. Like, it's been like an hour and 15 minutes. So,
wow,
right? Did you feel that way?
No, not even at all.
Man, this has been a pleasure. And there's so much that people can learn from this. There's so much, but it's just, I say so all the time, people are our greatest resources. Our community, we are who we surround ourselves around. And I can see, man, it's been 18 years and so it's a different person sitting in front of me. I'm like looking at you and you look the same, but like hearing you talk, it's just completely different.
That's a compliment. That's a huge compliment because that person had to go.
Yeah.
So he didn't go quite fast enough, but he had to go. And every once in a while he still pops up, but yeah.
I was at that point when I met you, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So, man,
that's been a real honor.
Thanks, man.